Is the patient breathing?
I'm dead. Marcus, you need to smash open the door. Oh, they're frozen. They're dead.
Seconds before the call, this daughter discovered her parents' lifeless bodies inside their home. At the crime scene, there were no clues, but as the investigation unfolded, a chilling pattern began to emerge, pointing to someone just next door.
In addition, you had regular contact with them and access to their home address.
What first looked like a tragedy was about to expose something much more sinister that would shock not just the detectives, but everyone.
Up until that point, she'd waited all this time to find out how her mum and dad died.
Come on. Okay, just take a moment. It's going to be difficult for you.
It was just after 10 a.m. on Easter Sunday, April 9th, 2023, when 23-year-old Ellena Baxter drove past her parents' house with her partner Marcus, deciding to stop to check on her mother, and completely unaware that in that very moment, her life would change forever. Not even her worst nightmare could have prepared her for the horror waiting inside.
Help!
Desperate for help, she immediately called 999.
Ambulance emergency. Is the patient breathing?
I don't know. I can't get to them. Like they're blue. I can't get to them. I can't open the door.
How old is the patient, please?
They're in their 60s. I haven't been able to get hold of them from yesterday, and then I've kind of checked their blinds are still shut from last night. And my mum's not very well. Please help me,
Listen to me, psych.
Yeah, parents, they're in the lounge and they don't look, their doors are all locked.
Marcus, you need to smash open the door. I'm dead.
Her parents, Carol and Stephen Baxter, sat slumped and motionless in their armchairs, a haunting sight she would never forget.
Marcus, smash the window.
Listen to me, so I can help.
Yeah, smash the window. Guys! Mom!
You're awake?
Oh, they're frozen. They're dead.
Just moments later, 34-year-old Luke DeWitt, the Baxters' longtime neighbor and a close family friend, joined Ellena at the scene and spoke to the 999 operator.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm the friend. They're just
Right, okay. Right, are you with the patient now?
They are there.
Right, okay.
They're like, they're stiff.
You're saying there, so just to confirm, how many people are hurt?
Two.
Right.
So I need to come outside. It's their daughter, you can hear. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I'm organising help you now. So just tell me exactly what's happened from what you know, please, just so we can all go to the best time. Well, we just turned up to the house and we hadn't really heard from anyone for about a day and a half. So we came round and their daughter got here first, and I think they got around to the back, sort of through their conservatory that they were sitting in their armchairs not moving. And we smashed the window to get in.
I'm organising help for you now, just stay on the phone.
Thank you. Any chance we can wrap out soon? I need to go and be with
I appreciate it. I will get, I'm trying to be as quick as I possibly can, so just so I can, make sure we've got that help organised. It's been really well, okay? I'll leave you in the first responder's hands, okay? All the best now.
Thank you.
No worries, bye.
The police arrived immediately and encountered the most confusing crime scene they'd ever seen.
They've cordoned off the entire area. They've evacuated residents. Is there anything else you require us to do?
I haven't been all the way out the back, but if we can double check that.
Yeah.
But I definitely want someone with the family.
Yeah.
Upon hearing the news, their son Harry Baxter arrived at the crime scene.
She's done something silly. I know she's done something silly. I'm trying to help her, please.
Ellena seemed to be hinting at a dark and irreversible choice her parents might have made, a decision possibly driven by a long-standing illness, as detectives would soon uncover. Police learned that Carol had been battling Hashimoto's disease for some time. They also interviewed Luke, whose account offered a clearer view of Carol's condition.
Did you go in to see them yourself? I have been in there, yeah. And I went upstairs, the paramedic asked me to get all Carol's medication that she's got a look. Yeah, they like to know what people take, gives them an idea of what they suffer from. You don't know what she's actually taken. Because quite often she might take, she has every morning levothyroxine. But sometimes she forgets and she could take it 6 or 7 times. I know that's really that, but I mean, she doesn't know, or she doesn't know she's taken it loads of times. No.
This theory took an even darker turn when investigators examined the deeply unsettling crime.
The scene itself was described as clinical. There wasn't any obvious signs as to why they died. There was no empty packets of pills, blister packs. There wasn't any weapons. There wasn't any sign of any break-in. And it was just really, really unusual. There was concern of there being carbon monoxide poisoning, which would fit with how they were found, almost like they were asleep in their chairs.
The investigators were working hard to solve the mystery, piecing together every clue they could find. But what they didn't know yet was that two of the people they were about to arrest soon were right there, in front of them, the entire time. Carbon monoxide poisoning is, tragically, a common method used in... It seemed to explain the strange condition in which the Baxters' bodies were found. But to know for sure if they'd truly chosen that path, detectives would have to dig much deeper.
Yeah, this is the chap you want to speak to. I think he's done 2 readings. It's probably best you hand over to Mr. Gas.
Boy looks fairly brand new, good condition. Property's well maintained. No readings on any level. Yeah. Everything that's evidence-based for me and readings-wise, I don't think it's CO.
But no trace of poison gas was detected, leaving investigators more puzzled than ever.
That was a red flag to me. 2 people don't die like that, together at that time in that position. There was a reason for their deaths, and I needed to get answers. I needed to find the truth.
It was only 4 days after the discovery of the body that the preliminary post-mortem report came in. But instead of answers, it only deepened the mystery.
There was no marks, there was no obvious signs of injuries. There was nothing obvious to explain how they died. The post-mortems were both unremarkable, with no evidence of any third-party involvement. So we sent away blood samples to our lab to analyse. It was then just a waiting game.
Police turned their focus to the family, digging through their relationships, because if the answers weren't in the bodies, maybe they were in the people closest to them.
We discovered there had been domestics reported at the address where police had attended due to arguments involving Ellena and Harry. They would have a bit more of a tempestuous relationship. They were a family that row.
Just days after Ellena lost her parents, she began sifting through banking folders and household documents. It wasn't just what she did only days after her parents' death that raised eyebrows. It was also what she discovered in doing so.
We were aware that this will had been found. Ellena had found that, but it wasn't with the formal wills that had been drawn up by the family solicitors. That, for us, straight away, it was a bit more unusual. So the will concentrates on the family bath mat business. In the event of our deaths, Casplash is to continue trading. Our daughter Ellena Baxter is to be 100% shareholder and complete owner. Ellena is to become the person of significant control. The directorship is to be split 50-50 between Ellena Baxter and Luke DeWitt. Our dear friend Luke DeWitt is to be director and person with significant control. We thought it was very suspicious that Ellena and Luke were beneficiaries to something that the rest of the family was not.
The will claimed Ellena as the sole heir and Luke the director of the family business. But something was off. Harry, the son, wasn't mentioned at all, yet the neighbor Luke was. That alone raised suspicion. Detectives checked with the family's legal advisor. They confirmed the will was never drafted by their office. It was fake, and the deception had only just begun. Ellena suddenly looked less like a victim and more like someone with a motive. But she wasn't the only one named in the will. Luke was there too. He wasn't just the Baxter's neighbor. He was practically family, always around, helping with errands, checking on Carol's health. Trusted, present, almost too present. Now, with a forged will and 2 suspicious names on it, investigators had to ask, was this a tragic loss or a carefully planned betrayal?
Oh, hello. Hi. Right. What time are you got here?
Yeah, he's been here for about 3 hours.
Watch some TV.
Yeah.
Chloe, should we wrap up?
Due to the fact I've got a fake will that names both of them, Ellena Baxter and Luke DeWitt were now people of interest in the investigation.
And just how close were Ellena and Luke before the murders? Close enough to share grief or close enough to share a plan. As the investigation edged closer to its breaking point, police uncovered a crucial lead, one that would unravel the biggest mystery haunting the case so far. The lab had just delivered the findings of the second post-mortem. Stephen had a fatal dose of fentanyl in his system, while Carol's body revealed even more disturbing details, a double dose of both promethazine and fentanyl. They finally knew the cause of death, but the real question was why and who made it happen.
It was at that point everything changed. We've now got a reason why they've died. And it's a whole new, different investigative avenue around fentanyl. How did they have possession of fentanyl? Was it them? Was it somebody else? There were still so many questions that were unanswered, but it was quite clear that this now became a double homicide investigation.
With the post-mortem findings and suspicions, the authorities made their move. They issued an arrest warrant for Ellena Baxter, the daughter, and Luke DeWitt, the wannabe son who had wormed his way into the Baxter family. At the same time, 2 police teams moved in, one heading to Ellena Baxter's address, the other to Luke DeWitt.
Ellena, I'm arresting you on suspicion of the murder of Carol Stephen Baxter on or about the 7th to the 9th of April 2023. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something that you later lie in court.
Ellie, listen to me. It's really important, okay? We have to do that on a formal basis.
Right, okay.
Hi, Luke. I'm going to have to arrest you, mate, all right? And that's on suspicion of murder. All right, as part of a police investigation, you've been identified as being a suspect in relation to the deaths of Carol and Stephen Baxter, 27th to 9th of April 2023, all right? Okay. We'll be taking you up to Chelmsford custody, all right? Have you been arrested before?
No.
Never been arrested, no?
No.
Because I've never met you before, and obviously because of the offence of the allegation, I'm going to put you in handcuffs, but they're going to be at the front stack, buddy, all right?
Elena's grief didn't clear anything up, and neither did Luke's strange behavior.
If you have any questions or anything you want to ask us about the process, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, anything you can tell me, because I've never had anything like this.
So like my colleague said,
it's not in shock at the moment.
I'll take these off, just take your pockets down there, all right?
Got it. See a little question, like if there's a fire, I think the door's open or...
In where?
Hit.
We'll come around and get you out.
When they looked inside Luke's bag, it was as if unsettling evidence had walked right up to their doorstep, waiting to be discovered.
Do you have to be double search?
Nothing the bag's going to hurt me, is it? No, it's fine. No, we asked them, mate, to be surprised what people have in their bags. No, my granddad passed away a few weeks ago. Oh, okay. So it's just stuff and kids that really get to sort through and it's work. That's my granddad, I don't know.
What they found inside was enough to stop the investigation in its tracks and send it in an entirely new direction.
Sorry. That's all right.
Although fentanyl gave enough reason for investigators to look into Luke, they had nothing to hold Ellena. Even though she would have benefited from the forged will the most, there wasn't enough to keep her in custody. So for now, she was out on bail.
I saw the footage and it was apparent that Ellie was extremely upset when she found her parents in that way. She was crying, she was hysterical. And I took the view that she had to be a very good actress in order to be like that, if she'd known that she was party to her parents' killing.
On the other hand, the investigation on Luke was getting darker by the minute.
Could I please ask that you provide me with your full name and date of birth?
Luke DeWitt, 15th of July, 1989.
Thank you very much.
The cause of death for Carol Baxter has been linked to fentanyl ingestion and promethazine, an antihistamine, and fentanyl with Stephen Baxter. Fentanyl patches were also found within a bag in your workplace. In addition, you had regular contact with them and access to their home address. I believe these findings link you to the deaths of both Carol and Stephen Baxter.
Okay. My understanding, Luke, is that earlier on today, upon opening a white Tesco carrier bag containing medication, you said, "That is my bag, my granddad's stuff. He died a few weeks ago. I was meant to return them to the pharmacy." Did you say that?
No.
Okay.
I said it was my dad. The bag of the fentanyl patches was my dad's.
Okay.
He passed away 2 years ago and he used fentanyl. And when sorting at home, I just find patches. So I put it in the bag, put it in my bag to take to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And then my granddad's was some of the other medication. I put that in the bag, all to go to the pharmacy to return to.
Okay. So to clarify, The medication belonged to Grandad, the fentanyl belonged to Dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Luke was involved in the killing of the Baxter couple, he had enough time to do so as he regularly visited and cared for them.
Right. Get some drink. It's not many. Yeah, it smells decent.
But like a missing jigsaw puzzle, a part was left out. The investigators knew it was a doctor who had recommended medications, and that made Luke's role rather confusing.
We know that Carol's health had deteriorated over a period of time. Was that because of you?
No comment.
However, they didn't take Luke's word at face value, especially since his expression remained oddly unfazed throughout the questioning. But just as detectives arrived at his house with a search warrant, the interrogator's phone began buzzing non-stop, each notification more shocking than the last.
We found copious amounts of drugs everywhere, empty capsules that were split in half, syringes. There was like a makeshift pestle and mortar which had remnants of crushed tablets in the bottom and 4 doses of crushed up promethazine, sort of homemade and put into a capsule, which of course is relevant because that's one of the drugs that Carol died of. And then as the search went on, they'd found fentanyl patches. The fact that Luke DeWitt left all the tablets around his house, the fentanyl patches, the fact he was walking around in broad daylight with them. You know, as soon as we found it, he was very much, the spotlight was on him.
Along with the medicines, they also found multiple gadgets that didn't make any sense to them, at least not yet. But to figure out the answers, all they had was Luke.
I'm going to go through the items that we found within the address. The first is of a split pill, which is empty. It's had the content of the pill removed. And the other is a small plastic grip bag with white powder inside. Tell me about both of these things.
No comment.
Were you tampering with her prescriptions?
No comment.
Why would you do that?
No comment.
Did you do that in order to kill her?
No comment.
Is this something that happened quickly?
No comment.
Or did you do it slowly?
No comment.
Over a long period of time?
No comment.
Slowly increasing the doses, watching your friend deteriorate?
No comment.
Does the name Dr. Andrea Bowden mean anything to you?
No comment.
Dr. Andrea had long been a part of Carol's daily routine, managing her chronic illness. Her name appeared on prescriptions, emails, and in the update videos Carol, Stephen, and Luke often sent her.
You're on video. This is going to Andrea.
I have sent Luke instructions. Turmeric shot. I am sure Luke will make this up for you.
Never do drink. Well, yes. Need something.
Despite relentless questioning, Luke never flinched, raising suspicion that he might be protecting Dr. Andrea. But every attempt to reach the US-based doctor failed. She was quickly becoming the missing piece of the puzzle.
Officers had been trying for so long to be able to identify Dr. Andrea with no success, trying to just make contact.
However, the detectives had decided they had enough to charge Luke with the Baxter double murder. Ellena, on the other hand, seemed innocent.
Luke, alright, today, as you're aware, you've been interviewed numerous times today, and that case was sent up to the CPS for a charging decision. They have authorised charges, alright, mate?
Reviewing all Elena's digital devices, it was agreed there was absolutely no evidence to suggest that Ellena was involved in relation to the deaths of her parents.
Ellena had no idea about most of the drugs they were talking about, including fentanyl, and the investigators believed so because there were no messages between her and Luke, or even between Dr. Andrea and her. In fact, the investigation would undergo a complete change as her status shifts from suspect to witness.
We needed to speak to Ellena to understand what she could tell us about the family dynamics, the dynamic of Luke, because of a lot of that stuff, it was only her that would know that.
So there are lots of things in the investigation that you won't be aware of, and as a witness, I can't tell you,
right?
All right? But at the moment, it's really important. You just tell me what you know. So tell me about Luke. Was he a close friend? Was he another brother?
He was like a brother to me. Luke used to make all these shakes and...
Did you see him make them?
Yeah, he always used to kind of like make my mum food and stuff like that. And yeah, Like, she'd had like a pill pot and he'd always give her these different medications. She'd just take. Was Luke saying you should try this, or Andrew was saying try this? A bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although the opening of this interview was with Luke, they were about to make some of the most shocking discoveries of their careers, and it won't just include him.
You said about Dr. Andrea.
Yeah.
How did she come into Mum's life?
As far as I'm aware, Luke helped my mum and kind of found her online or something, and she then decided that, or she knew another couple of people in England that were going through the same thing as my mum, and it would be important for my mum to talk to them about it as well.
Okay. Was that email group? WhatsApp? A WhatsApp group?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems Dr. Andrea had been quite popular and reachable for some time. She was in contact with more of her patients, a group of people with whom the entire Baxter family was friends. To keep in touch with all of them, Carol had also created a WhatsApp chat group.
Mum was very sociable, and when this WhatsApp group was created, it was a relief for her, you know.
These patients, who were also now friends, were connected through Dr. Andrea and the chat show. They all believed wholly in their doctor, encouraging each other to continue with the treatment.
My one little treasure advice for you is to listen to whatever Andrea says. Whatever she says, just do.
One of these women was Jenny, the sister of Cheryl, a WhatsApp group member. Carol posted a video of Ellena singing in her WhatsApp group. Soon, Jenny and Ellena connected because of their mutual interest in music.
Jenny would give me advice and just that bit of confidence that could actually push me in the right direction. Yeah, she was a really big part of my life at that point.
So after your parents died, obviously after the initial shock and grief, the singing side of things, did you start doing that again?
No.
Okay. Did you feel that Jenny was supportive for you post?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to Jenny a lot, multiple times a day, especially when Mum and Dad did pass. I just felt very alone, really, you know. And Jenny would message me and check in on me. She helped me with what to do in terms of the house and the funeral, and you know, it was just a bit of sense almost. Yeah, it was a really difficult time.
Although Jenny seemed like the closest friend anyone could ask for, she turned down one simple request from Ellena.
Because Jenny was close with Mum, I said, come to the funeral, it'd be really nice if you and Cheryl could both be there. I've never met you, can you send me a picture of your face so I can actually recognise you? So yeah, no, of course, I'll do it later, busy right now. And got to the funeral, and afterwards, when we were all standing outside, Luke came up to me and was like, oh, you know, is Jenny and Cheryl here? And it's like, yeah, oh, no, they've had to go though, because Cheryl's had another appointment at the hospital for a leg, or she was in pain with it, so they've headed off. And I was sort of a bit like, okay, but they've just come to my parents' funeral and not said anything. So I thought that was weird, and I thought it was quite rude, to be honest.
However, it only got stranger because just a few months back, a similar request was posted by Carol to her WhatsApp group friends. She asked them to group FaceTime on several occasions, but it was always turned down for one reason or another. On one occasion, Carol got very close to meeting one of her online friends, Linda, who was about to dine with her and Stephen one evening. Yet, at the last moment, they bailed out with a rather unusual excuse.
They then received a message to say that Linda had died, and part of that was a contributing factor that she hadn't followed the rules.
Linda's death scared Carol, but then Dr. Andrea's email came, and that was something else.
Tony informed me of what happened to Linda. Why do some ladies not listen?
The Hashimoto WhatsApp group members were all wrapped around the Baxter family even after the killing of Carol and Stephen. In the moment of interrogation that came next, Ellena would face for the first time the unsettling possibilities regarding her online friends.
And then at the funeral, Luke, like, oh, you know, I just said bye to Jenny, you know, there was here. And apparently they were sat right, Luke said they were sat right at the back.
So how would Jenny know Luke? You said that Luke's gone to speak to her.
Because apparently, not that my mum's ever said this, but apparently Luke had met Jenny and my mum at the house and come in for a cuppa or something with Cheryl.
Right. But you only know that. How?
I don't know from Luke.
Right. Just to clarify that, so Luke said he'd met...
Sorry, it's so scrambled
No,
in
I
my head.
know.
I mean, God knows how you guys are.
Detectives could sense that something was extremely disturbing about this entire group of people who had never met or visited the Baxters, but were always there for online support or to sell Dr. Andrea.
We were aware at this point that Ellena herself had been manipulated, and we suspected she might not know that, but we couldn't tell her anything about what we knew about Luke and what Luke had been doing. So Luke said he had met Jenny and Cheryl at the house.
Yeah.
What house did he mean?
My brother, I never actually met her.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most uncomfortable realization was yet to come when Ellena would put two and two together.
After Luke's arrest, I was still trying to reach out to Jenny and get her advice and her perspective on things.
But Jenny would neither come online nor respond. The last time she was online was on July 6, 2023, the date Luke was arrested. However, it was not just Jenny who could no longer be contacted.
And did you ever speak to her after you were arrested?
No.
On any platform?
I cannot get hold of her at all.
Did you try?
Yeah.
How did you try?
Tried to find her number, tried to call her on WhatsApp, tried to send her an email, tried to get an email from her from Andrea, who also doesn't reply to me now. I just can't get hold of her. My life is just so confusing now. I really don't know kind of what is real. I don't know what isn't real. It's just getting really it's okay.
But if none of this was real, where was the proof? It was just a block away from the Baxter family.
The evidence on Luke was growing daily. At the conclusion of all our house searches, we had recovered about 18 mobile phones from Luke's address.
It was not just the mobile phones, but also over 10 laptops that they recovered. It seemed Luke had been quite busy, and now it was the detectives' turn.
I had the team increased to 34 detectives, but it still took 12 officers 5 months to review all the digital data.
The digital data was being reviewed, and at first, it consisted only of the flyers and the annual Mercy Carnival and trivial things that didn't matter. But soon, things took a much darker turn as they delved deeper into Luke's digital data and found some evil secrets hiding.
I discovered one of the applications on there was a mail.com mail app, which is basically an email platform. When I looked at the application, there it was, Andrew Bowden's email account, which had been used in the communication with Carol, was logged in on the application on Luke DeWitt's phone. I was then able to really take a deep dive into all of the sent messages and all of the content that account received. And we were able to get the time and the date that he created that email address. It was clear to us that Luke DeWitt was Dr. Andrea.
With all of these personalities, it's safe to say it was Luke's world, and the Baxter family was just living in it. The whole family was sharing their lives with just one person, Luke.
This is a case of Luke DeWitt posing as Dr. Andrea and controlling and gaslighting and grooming the whole family.
Next, detectives uncovered something even more disturbing on the gadgets found in Luke's home. Audio messages from the Baxters' so-called online friends sent at various intervals.
Hi, Carol. It's Jenny. It's Cheryl's sister. Yes. Oh, so nice to finally speak to you after all these messages we've been doing. Hi, Carol. It's nice to speak to you. Yes, this is Sandra. How are you? Is this Ellie? My name's Jan. I think we've spoken before.
We just continued to be shocked at the level of detail Luke went to make these people seem real.
Luke had been around the family all the time, to the extent that they sometimes no longer wanted him there. In one of these emails, Stephen had explicitly told Dr. Andrea so. Just as Stephen started to question Luke's presence at his home, he also harbored some other suspicions.
Started to question the validity of some of Andrea Bowden's clients. He asked Luke directly in text message. He would write messages to Dr. Andrea about Luke. He felt he was talking freely and confidently to the doctor of his wife, not thinking for one moment actually that was Luke.
Around this time, all the personalities suddenly became more aggressive and demanding than ever.
Implying that Stephen is a bad husband, he's not looking after Carol. Then the WhatsApp group was sending messages to Carol.
Did this suspicion drive Luke to hurry up and kill them? But even if it had, how did he administer the dose to Stephen, who was neither on the pills of Carol, nor was he a fan of medication? Luke had a plan, another entry.
And it was really quite late in the investigation when my team found a now significant piece of evidence involving a new persona.
Dr. Mendel advised Carol and Stephen to detoxify their livers as a couple's goal. And so Stephen agreed without knowing what he was getting into.
There are a series of emails between Dr. Alan Mandel and Carol. The first says 1/2 cup of boiling water, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, 3 dissolved aspirin tablets. This has to be done correctly in capital letters and with the right mixture. If you are not sure you are doing it right, then stop in capital letters and ask a friend.
This drink was used to administer the fatal dose of fentanyl. And this time, investigators had proof to say it was Luke who slipped it in.
Clear to me was that the drink had been consumed in the morning by both of them. But we also know that Luke DeWitt was present at the address at that time. And we know that because Luke told us that in his very first statement.
So you saw them alive on Friday? Cool.
He said that he was there from mid-morning, which would have corresponded with the timings that they have started the liver recovery program. He identified some images on Luke DeWitt's device, which showed the Baxters in their chairs. Between 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 5 o'clock, they were clearly incapacitated. It was clear from that a mobile phone had been set up in position in the kitchen to record, which then allowed Luke DeWitt to go elsewhere, either in the property or even leave the property and still be able to monitor what is happening in that room on a secondary device. But we know that he comes back to the address.
For some reason, Luke comes back to the Baxter house before 8 p.m. and leaves again shortly.
He closed the door behind him and then double locks the door. And then he walks away in the direction of his home.
On February 14th, 2024, Chelmsford Crown Court heard Luke's case. The defense presented the case, claiming it was actually Stephen who requested that Luke create several personalities so that Carol could feel happier about taking her medications.
To hear Luke talking about Stephen in the way he did at trial was disgusting. To me, it was Luke's last thrill of being able to torture the family. He knew they were there and he was still trying to cause distress.
The court sentenced Luke to a minimum of 37 years in prison on the charges of poisoning the couple and changing their will. But the most confusing aspect of this elaborate plan that Luke built was that nobody would probably ever know the exact reason Luke decided to kill the couple.
We thought the main motive for their deaths was financial, but the fake will wasn't a viable will, and actually he wouldn't have benefited at all. So the motive wasn't financial, it was something else.
Although the judge said Luke did it all for the sinister pleasure of control and sadism, but what truly led him to plan something this dark is still a mystery. Did he always mean to kill the millionaire elderly couple and frame Ellena with a fake will? Or did the plan twist into something monstrous along the way?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम दोस्तों, उम्मीद करता हूँ आप लोग खैरियत होंगे और ठीक होंगे और ज़िंदगी अच्छी गुजार रहे होंगे और ज़िंदगी आप लोगों की बहुत अच्छी गुजर रही होगी। और आपको ये स्टोरी कैसी लगी, इस स्टोरी के बारे में मुझे ज़रूर बताइएगा और कमेंट्स करिएगा कि कैसी स्टोरी लगी और क्या और कौन सी स्टोरीज़ आप देखना चाहते हैं और कौन सी स्टोरीज़ को वॉच करना चाहते हैं। तो चलें अपने बारे में बताएं और इसके अलावा क्या कर रहे हैं। अच्छा, स्टोरी के बारे में ज़रूर बताइए कि आप लोगों को स्टोरी कैसी लगी और इसके अलावा क्या मसरूफियात रही ज़िंदगी में आपकी। मसरूफियात तो लोगों की आती रहती हैं दोस्तों, लेकिन यह है कि उसका मुकाबला करना चाहिए, मुश्किलों का मुकाबला करना चाहिए इंसान को, और मुश्किलें इंसान की इसमें आती रहती हैं। تو زندگی اسی کا نام ہے میرے دوستوں. انسان کو مقابلہ کرنا چاہیے اور مقابلہ ہی کرنا بہت ضروری ہے مشکلوں کا. اور مشکلیں انسان پر آتی ہیں اور خوشیاں بھی آتی ہیں, غم بھی آتے ہیں, سب چیزیں آتی ہیں, تو اس کا مقابلہ ضروری ہے کرنا. تو بس میں یہ اسی لیے ویڈیو بنا رہا ہوں کہ میں نے کہا آپ لوگ کو سنوں کہ آپ لوگ کیا مقابلہ کر رہے ہیں. اچھا, اس کے بارے میں بتائیے کہ اسٹوری جو میں پوسٹ کر رہا ہوں آپ کو یہ اسٹوری کیسی لگی اور کیسی اسٹوری لگ رہی ہے, اس بارے میں ضرور مجھے بتائیے گا, اسٹوری کے بارے میں. ٹھیک ہے, تو بس یہ ہے کہ مجھے انفارمیشن ضرور دیجیے گا, انفارمیشن آپ کی بہت اچھی ہوگی. اس کے علاوہ یہ ہے کہ کلر میرا بڑا ڈم لگ رہا ہے, لیکن کیا کریں, ویڈیو تو بنانی پڑتی ہے, آگے بڑھنا پڑتا ہے دوستوں, اور آگے بڑھ کے ہی مقابلہ کرنا پڑتا ہے دوستوں. مقابلے میں ہی آزمائش ہے, اور آزمائش تو انسان پر آتی ہے. تو میری ویڈیو کمپلیٹ تقریباً کہہ سکتے ہیں ہونے والی ہے, اور کمپلیٹ ویڈیو ضرور دیکھیے گا اور مجھے بتائیے گا کہ آپ کو اسٹوری کیسی لگی. اور یہ اوریجنل اسٹوری ہے, کوئی فیک نہیں ہے, اوریجنل اسٹوریز ہیں جو میں آپ کو دکھا رہا ہوں. اسٹوری کے حساب سے تو اسٹوری کے بارے میں ضرور آگاہ کریے گا اور رائے دیجیے. اللہ حافظ.